Great. I will now would like to pass the word to Maya Ferling, Project Officer of the I3 Support Facility at ASMEA.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Maya Ferlintz. I'm a project advisor at ASMEA, and from the ASMEA site, I'm also in charge of the I3 support facility. Welcome everybody to the third virtual event on smart specialization thematic platforms and how they relate to the I3 projects. What is the I3 support facility for those who are new to our meetings? I3 support facility is initiative by the European Commission, DG Regio, and also by the ASMEA that was launched in October last year. And it provides the support to the regional and to national stakeholders and to public authorities and also to the I3 project coordinators in their efforts to foster strong interregional innovation ecosystem and to reinforce the objectives of the interregional innovation investments. In the next little bit less than 3 years, the I3 support facility will provide support to the regional innovation stakeholders in the form of giving them opportunities to promote their project ideas, looking for the partners, and also to showcase their I3 projects. Currently, the I3 Observatory is under construction, which will allow everyone to monitor project progress, to see what are the trends in the I3 instrument and what are the outcomes of the I3 projects. Then every year there will be 3 discussion groups within so-called policy lab, and these discussion groups will tackle key regional innovation challenges and develop different solutions and give us the feedback. And also there will be many of online and also in-person events with the different topics, like for example this one. There will be this year 12 virtual events on different topics relating to the interregional innovation investments. In September, more detail on 24th and 25th September, we will organize annual I3 instrument forum, which will be a big political event here in Brussels. And twice per year, the I3 support facility will also organize events on the national level in different countries. If you are not yet part of the I3 support facility, I would like to welcome you to check so far temporary website on ASMEA website. If you go to the I3 instrument program, you will find the link to the I3 support facility, and you can basically just click the button and subscribe yourself for news, for information of the events and any other information related to the I3 support facility. And also some news regarding the I3 instrument activities this year. I would like to welcome you to check out the new work program for 2025 for 2027. It has been published recently, and this year we are planning to publish 3 calls. Investment calls in Strand 1 and Strand 2A will be open on 22nd of May 2025, and they will close on 13th of November 2025. The information day is foreseen for 11th of June. And for the final capacity building call, the call will be open on 23rd of October 2025 and will close on 19th of March next year. I also welcome you to check all this information on the ASMEA website. So not to be too long, I would like to pass now the floor to Els, who will be moderating today's event. Els, please.
Thank you very much, Maya, for giving me the floor, and also on behalf of myself, welcome to this workshop. Very happy to have you here and to discuss a bit more the collaboration or the potential benefits that you can have either being part of i3 versus thematic specialization partnerships, or vice versa, moving from a partnerships towards an i3 projects. So today that's the main topic of the workshop, and first I will start with discussing a bit the S3 Cup for those who are not yet familiar with the project, and then I will give the floor to two speakers, René, who will really start, they had the partnerships and then moved forward towards i3 projects, and they were very successful in getting several of those. While on the other hand, the second speaker, Yasmina, will start from an i3 project, then went into the partnerships and fully managed to have a very well-functioning partnership. So we have two speakers from different perspectives coming from i3 versus a thematic marginalization partnership. This being said, let me first start by opening the floor. What is the S3 Community of Practice? The S3 Community of Practice is an initiative launched also by DigiRegio to truly create and mobilize a community of practitioners. So what DigiRegio really has in mind is, on the one hand side, to help stakeholders to implement S3 smart relation strategies, to make sure it actually happens within the regions, and also to be able to tackle some of the challenges that are associated with those. In addition, they really want to also offer hands-on support, targeted support to regions, to actors that are really in charge of implementing the S3 strategies, and to make sure that through partnerships, through several activities, S3 is truly implemented within the various regions. How does the S3 Community of Practice look like? There are three main pillars. On the one hand side, we have the policy advice. So in the expert group and the working groups, we really look at policy questions. What is making S3 challenging to implement policy-wise? The second pillar is really about the support we're giving towards the partnerships, towards the regions, in order to solve practical questions on how to set up partnerships, how to solve some of the challenges faced by the partnerships. And thirdly, we have the community engagement, where we have the S3COP website. If you didn't have a look yet, please do go to the S3COP website. There's a lot of useful information for you to find there. And we also have regular events. Every year we have a big event, and every so many months we have online events similar as those, in order again to stimulate really the best practices and the lessons learned. If I go to the next slide, there are currently four thematic smart platforms. There is the one on agri-food, one on energy, one industrial modernization and sustainable blue economy. And each of those are being hosted or co-guided by different DGs. So all, of course, is the main DG here is DigiRegio, but agri-food, for example, is also co-hosted by DG Agri and DG RTD. Industrial modernization is co-hosted by DG Grow, and sustainable blue economy is also supported by DG Mare. When I go to the next slide, you will see that within those four thematic platforms, we have a lot of partnerships. At this point in time, we have 41 thematic smart relation partnerships that are really there to initiate, to explore new value chains in specific priority areas. It is upon the partnerships themselves to identify those topics. So it's not upon us nor DigiRegio to define the theme or the main sector or area of application you want to focus on. That's upon the partnerships themselves. We are mainly there to support you in order to facilitate S3 implementation. At this point in time, we have 207 unique regions. So a lot of the regions, or the majority of the NUTS2 regions, are currently part of at least one partnership. Moving to the next slide. What we also can offer as an S3COP Secretariat is truly the services. So as you can see here, I will not go into detail on them, but just to give you an overview, we start with training capacity building to help emerging partnerships, new partnerships, because we still have an open call that's basically closing today for new partnerships in order to arise, to start to work together in interregional collaboration topics. And we really give there some training capacity building. We also support in governance in order to make sure that the structure of the partnerships is well set up and well thought of. We do the scoping in order to determine what would be the main scope of collaboration in an interregional setting. We offer mapping, and smart partnering in order to identify the capabilities that are needed in order to engage in interregional collaboration. We provide funding, finance, and investment assistance in order to show the multitude of opportunities that are there in order to foster and to fund interregional collaboration. There is, of course, the I3, which we'll hear more in a minute from the two speakers. And of course, being part of this community and this project, you already heard also some other opportunities. But there are also besides the I3 projects, there is the Interact, the European Innovation Ecosystem programs, and many more that we try to highlight in this funding, finance, and investment assistance program. Within the demonstration service, we really try to support those partnerships that are already a bit more mature and they have the governance, they have the scoping to truly allow them to demonstrate some of the activities, some of the results they have obtained through interregional collaboration. And then lastly, there is a scale-up and commercialization, which is again for more mature partnerships to drive them into truly implementing some of the innovation projects. So this is in a nutshell the services we are offering. What we are also trying to ask from all of the partnerships is to what we call a kind of the monitoring reports to give us a bit of insight. What have they been able to achieve through the collaboration that they are doing? Well, and here on the slide, you see a number of key performance indicators. So on the one hand side, the 35 monitoring reports that we received from the various partnerships indicated that they have been able to launch 197 projects, of which 51 in the last 6 months. So you see that there's quite a lot of activity within the partnerships to go for European projects. Again, this can be I3, but this can also be Horizon Europe projects. This can be Interact projects. So it's a variety of projects that is being launched by the various partnerships. Within those projects, we see that there's actually more than 2,000 active partners, which is again a quite broad area. It can be universities, but also technology centers, cluster organizations, companies. So a full set of quadruple helix actors that are truly active in projects being supported by the various partnerships. And we then see, if we then look at all of the various partnerships and the project there that are being attributed to, we see that we have a total of 612 regions. And this is, of course, because remember that in the prior slide, I had 207 unique regions. This is, of course, a double counting because there are several regions that are active in more than one partnership. It's not always the same organization of the same region that is, because in some regions, for example, it's the cluster active in food that is taking part of, for example, partnerships in the agri-food, while it is, for example, another cluster or an RTO or university that are active in, for example, a partnership in industrial modernization. But taking those together, we see that several regions are part of several partnerships. In addition, what we try to do through the monitoring reports is to get some insights on, for example, what were some of the benefits of interregional collaboration for the specific partnerships? How did they truly benefit in order to make sure that interregional collaboration is truly happening and is also providing benefits for their individual regions and across the regions? Secondly, what is the impact of the partnership? What is truly happening there, but also what are some of the remaining challenges and bottlenecks. And these are also insights we are transferring to DG Regio for them to move onwards and to implement in their policies and in their working programs. And then, of course, we also ask the partnerships to discuss their involvement in I3 projects, their positioning, and 2 testimonials, of course, will happen in a few minutes. Another thing what we're trying to do, and I already touched upon it, the testimonials, is to truly try to capture some of the insights next to the 2 you will hear in a moment, but also from the other partnerships, what is truly happening, what is truly working well. And we also try to disseminate this. So you can see this on the website. We also have regular meetings where we try to capture some of these insights, the best practices, what are the lessons learned, with the main aim to disseminate this information and to help other partnerships to overcome some of the challenges faced, some of the barriers identified, and to make sure that implementations towards interregional collaboration projects is happening in a more fluent way and in a more easy way moving forward. And this is on the right hand side of the slides. You see a bit how the testimonials look like. So all of them have more or less the same layout, where this is, for example, a testimonial of the bioeconomy partnerships, where it's captured what is the partnerships, but what is the added value, what is some of the concrete examples, and what are some of the benefits for this specific partnership. And we have asked all of the partnerships to provide such testimonials in order, again, here to really stimulate the exchange of best practices, of lessons learned and insights acquired over the various years of working in an interregional collaboration setting. What we also identified is that through the service delivery, we try to identify what are some of the lessons learned in providing the services towards the partnerships, in being in an interaction with many of the various partnerships. And that document is basically, again, available on the website. You can see it connect as a lessons learned not only for the partnerships that are currently already ongoing, but also for new partnerships. What should you have in order to become a good partnerships? What is essential elements in order to set up an interregional collaboration partnership? And here we saw 3 elements really standing out, or at least also mentioned through the partnerships, that having a clear mission, vision, and objectives is really essential. What do you truly want to do? It's not just about one project, an I3 project or a Horizon project, but it's having a true vision as organizations of multiple regions wanting to work in an interregional collaboration setting. What is the mission that you want to move forward? Why are you collaborating? What is your vision? And what do you aim to achieve through having this partnership? The second very important one is to have committed partners. We see that several partnerships have a lot of partners, others are quite small. The number is less important than the commitment of the partners. Having committed partners who are willing to take up their role, to take up activities, to actively pursue some opportunities is extremely important for a well-functioning partnership. And what we also identified is that having some regular points of contacts in the partnerships is also quite instrumental. And this implies having regular meetings, either virtual or physical meetings, in order to follow up and to make sure that the action plan you have developed, the objectives you are trying to reach, are truly being materialized and are following up in the various regions. So these are a few points that really come out. And then lastly, I would like to finalize my presentation before giving the floor to the other 2 speakers, to invite you all to join our S3 Community of Practice S3 conference. This one will take place on the 18th of June in Brussels in Belgium. The day before, we will have our steering committee meeting, where we are really again trying to have as many partnerships as possible to exchange. It will be very interactive in order to exchange on insights, best practices, lessons learned. And on the 19th, we will have some working group meetings, but there the focus will much more be on the policy side. What can be done in order to overcome some of the barriers, the hindrances that we have towards S3 implementation. So that is in a nutshell what I wanted to say on S3 Cup. I would really invite you to have a look on the website. And of course, do not hesitate to contact me through this email address if you have additional questions on the S3 Cup. This being said, I would really like to give the floor to my next speaker, because he is, of course, I can say a lot about S3 interregional collaboration, but he is really implementing it. He's having a very active partnerships that is doing a lot of interregional collaboration projects. So I prefer him to take the floor to tell you a bit more about his experience. So René, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Els, for introduction and for the opportunity to be here today. So it's good to have you all here, and I'm very happy to share with you some thoughts on how we made our journey actually from being a thematic platform to the instrument and actually towards impact, because in the end, that's what we want to achieve. So next slide, please. Maybe to give you some insights in where I'm from and where I'm coming from and what journey we are taking. So I'm coming from a cluster sports and technology, which is located in the south of the Netherlands, the Brainport region, already existing for more than 20 years. I've been at the heart and the center of the development of EPSI, the European Platform on Sports Innovation. For both organizations, I'm director at the moment. And for the third part, actually, we worked together in different regions and clusters in Europe to establish in 2017 CLISport, with the gain and the ambition to drive innovation in healthy, active lifestyle. Next slide, please. So this CluSport is actually a smart specialization partnership under the industrial modernization, so one of these 4 pillars. And as said, it was founded in 2017, led by 2 regions, South Netherlands and Lapland, both very active and committed to make interregional collaboration work. And both also very committed to do that from a quadruple helix innovation cluster point of view. So I think that one of our strengths from the start has been always that we have been working bottom up. So we are not just a regional collaboration, but we are especially also a cluster, a quadruple helix innovation cluster collaboration. And that reflects also in a network of networks, of course. And of course, it also makes very clear where the needs and the issues are that we want to tackle in business or in creating impact. Next slide, please. So if you look at, this is one of the slides actually that was already there in 2017. If you look at our ambition, and it's still very valid, even though we are now more or less 7-8 years later. It is reflecting actually the challenge of going through the different TRL levels as being companies in this area of sports and healthy active lifestyle. It is not easy to get to a market, and of course we all know about the values of death and the related issues to that. But particularly in this area where the market is far often seen as a very interesting one from let's say sports perspective, or a very interesting one from a healthcare perspective. We try to come here from the care for health perspective, which makes it quite different and challenging. And over the years, we have been able to achieve a position in that. Certainly, we are not there yet. But it shows actually that we want to guide parties through this level of development from good ideas to market-ready products. And this has been, as I said, since 2017, the idea. And actually, it's also the basic idea of what we want to do with the I3 projects, bringing regional and interregional value change in the sports and healthy active lifestyle sector to help companies to be successful and create impact. Next slide, please. So our mission has been updated in last year, actually, with the support of the COP. So we have been rescoping ourselves a bit after so many years. It's often good to counter check what you are doing. And actually, of course, we stick still to the same plan. There's no revolution, but yet more evolution. So the mission is enhancing sports and healthy active lifestyle to support the transition from healthcare to care for health. And the last point is that healthcare to care for health is what we mean by that is that we are not working on the healthcare system or within the healthcare system, but particularly work in the area where we can traditionally refer to as prevention, or something like bringing people back from an injury or from, let's say, a medical issue back to fit for life. And these areas, which are not necessarily healthcare, not necessarily medical, are of course in high interest, looking at the graying population, but also looking at the need to keep people fit for the job, but also from the perspective of costs. So how will we do that? Well, we connect regional ambitions and excellences in this field, and we realize a continuous flow of innovation projects with impact. So it is not just about talking, it's especially also doing and learning from what you're doing to make the next step. We have some focus areas, digitalization and AI in sports and vitality, smart wearables and injury prevention, and sustainable sports and physical activities environments. So these are actually, I would say, the environments that we create to make people active in a healthy, active lifestyle environment, but also to do it with the right means to stimulate them, to reduce barriers. And aspects like gamification, exergaming as we call it, come also quite often in this area together. Next slide, please. So why is this innovation so important in sports and vitality? Well, I already mentioned a little bit about the need, but we can also create impact from that. So there's economical impact, there's a growing industry, where, of course, job creation and regional qualities are to be used to increase competitiveness, and in order to create actual solutions that work in practice, and thus also create impact on social and health. And this is actually what we are working for, is to create fit for life, people fit for life, and not keeping people like patients or just pampering them, but really helping them to get into the force and the excellence that each and every one of us has. In order to do so, we also need to align these interregional value chains, because it's not just a problem of a region. If you fail to get a scattered situation into a more condensed situation, a coherent situation, but it's actually in the interest of all of us. And of course, we can learn from each other, but also can stimulate crossing borders in markets and in industry development. So we believe also that if we help a company in a region A by being successful in this innovation chain, then we can also, of course, help them quicker by introducing them into other regions in Europe in the same way, on the same type of problem. So this is actually what we try to do, is to convert scatteredness to a more value chain approach in Europe. Next slide, please. So we have been always in a sort of journey. This journey has started back in 2017 with a scoping, where we're going for, to set a strategy. We have done some activities in elaborating the projects, the first projects coming from that. And actually, this is, I think, also interesting to know that at the time, an Intra-Europe project fitted very well the ambitions that we had. So Innovosport, the Intra-Europe project, was actually one of the pillars in the development of the i3 journey, even though the i3 at that time was not yet existing. So it's interesting to see that we are working from a bottom-up approach without knowing what the instruments are, but are looking actually at scanning instruments that we need and can fulfill our task in the period that we are in need of them. So back in 2019-22, we have created, with tough support, an i3 application, eventually succeeded in 2 i3 projects, and currently are, of course, also executing this project, and in parallel also looking for the next step with another intra-EU project called Active ID. Next slide, please. So what you can see is that throughout this journey of making steps, very much based on a bottom-up approach, we are using all kinds of different instruments to make the journey work. And they range from, let's say, the instruments which are coming from ERDF, but also instruments like Horizon, Erasmus, etc. Next slide, please. So to highlight 2 i3 projects that we are currently involved in as Cluster Sports and Technology. The first one is led by us. Cluster Sports and Technology is leading the i3 InShape project. And actually this is the project that is clearly directly coming from the Clusport partnership. It involves 24 partners, 7 regions and 5 countries, 9.5 million. And I think the main aspect here is to help companies through this, let's say, innovation cycle, from market need to innovate, to validate, to accelerate, to impact, data-driven, user-centered and evidence-based. That's a cycle on the right side. And actually we support in this way more than 40 companies, and that is done, I think, in a very bottom-up way again, through open calls and to successful supporting them with services. This process is, of course, still running. We are more or less on the half of this project, and of course are doing still a lot of jobs to make it work. DigitPlay is a little bit further. It started back in 2022 in the first trend of i3, but it's quite similar actually, and we are having quite some discussions among the 2 i3 projects and how to learn from each other, but also how to make next steps in this. Both i3 projects are similar in the way that they try to help SMEs to bring them from TRL 6 to 9 in interregional collaboration. And that is actually very interesting, as I said before, because helping companies together, so a company in region A with company in region B working together, speeds up their process and reduces the barriers in interregional collaboration in any way. So we feel that it is a very useful way of collaborating, and the i3 makes this possible. Next slide, please. So in the end, what we want to achieve is a network of innovation hubs, so easy access points in Europe, very close to SMEs and regional ecosystems in order to make this transition from healthcare to care for health. We do that in different contexts: the work environment, the sports environment, the public space environment, the home environment, school environment, actually all kinds of places where people can be stimulated in this healthy, active lifestyle. And the benefits from that is, of course, to connect the SMEs, researchers, and policymakers, but also to drive technology commercialization across EU markets. And we already have quite some evidence on how this works. Next slide, please. So the long-term impact of I3 and the partnership Klusport are actually very much aligned among each other. Whereas I3 projects are crucial for scaling innovation by creating better conditions for the SMEs, creating this value chain, overcoming funding gaps, but also ensuring operational alignment between industry needs and the EU policy, connecting excellences, stimulate connections and create impact. These are all things that typically are in the I3 projects guaranteed. But on the other hand, also Klusport plays an important role because this is the more long-term interregional collaboration environment where we align EU and regions to prioritize investment in especially topics like health resilience. And this is one of the topics that we believe that needs more attention in the future as well. Next slide, please. So our next step will be to stimulate this health resilience, and it means actually to stimulate the thinking not about healthcare only, but also about the care for health. And the consequent business cases behind that. Expanding the I3 backed projects to new regions. So we want to create, let's say, follow-up projects in other regions to stimulate also what we have learned to be taken up by others, of course, also in our same area of action. Making crossovers to other partnerships and topics. We are doing that already, as I said, if you look at the health care environment and the care for health environment, we're already doing that. But we also believe that there are new opportunities possible, for example, to food or to leisure tourism. So we believe that these crossovers also are very valid and important, and encouraging regional and private investment to complete the I3 funds. Of course, funding is ending, but on the other hand, it's a starting point for the next step. Stimulating opportunities for SMEs, policymakers, and researchers to engage, of course, is one of the benefits for all of us participating in the I3 and in the Klusport environment. If you want to know more about this Klusport I3 initiative, of course, you're very welcome to participate. Next slide, please. And I thank you for your attention, and please feel free to contact me on either positions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, René. And indeed, it's very inspiring to see how you managed to indeed use the various EU projects to execute your strategy. And I think for sure there will be several questions from the audience on this, on how you managed to do this. But before going into the questions, I would first like to give the floor to Jasmina, who will explain from her partnerships, the Food for Packaging and her I3 project, on how they did and managed the interplay. So Jasmina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm so inspired by the presentation, René presentation, and yours in the beginning. So today I would like to talk about how, from my subjective perspective, how we create a lasting partnership based on the I3 project. I'm Jasmina Solecka. I'm representing Naturif Association. That's a cluster from Poland, food packaging cluster. Next slide, please. So what was my journey to the platform, to the partnership, to the project? I tried to check emails and all the correspondence, how it started. It started in 2020. So some of people, I had some meetings through B2Match platform. So we discussed how we can cooperate together with other food packaging cluster. I also started a project with a Pack for Food on the food packaging. In 2021, Anne and Angelique from Pack for Food and Verle from Flanders Food invited me to be a co-leader of the food packaging platform. And I didn't know how to reply and what to do, because I felt so unexperienced in this area. So they asked me to be there, but they promised to support me in this journey. And at that time, I used many different tools, to interact with people, because we didn't have a platform or any project at that time. So I used Cluster Exchange funding to go to Dijon to meet other cluster from the food packaging. I also participated in the first partnership meeting, because after in 2022 we received confirmation that our partnership was accepted. At that time, we also thought how we can, work within the partnership, how to implement the activities, because as you know, from partnership, you do not have any financing of the partnership. So we, of course, dedicated our time, but there were different things to do in order to establish a true partnership. For example, we needed to do analysis of the regions. So we were thinking how we can use i3 project to analyze our regions, or how we can try to find financing to come from, analyzing to the investment project, what is also the goal of the partnership. And in the beginning of 2023, we submitted a project, Value for Pack, within i3. I started to be a coordinator of this. We had, as I said, really great support from other more experienced partners. And in a moment, I will show you what was the project about. But how is the journey till now? So in 2025, we think we have our S3 food packaging platform already structured. We signed the memorandum of understanding among partners. We have the work plan for the 2025. And thanks to the i3 projects, we have collaboration among our members within the Value for Pack project. And also we have ready for investment projects that came up from Value for Pack. And lately we submitted another project. It was Eurocluster project to finance the ideas or the businesses we found out in the Value for Pack. Next slide, please. What is the Value for Pack? So it came from the emerging, I would say, partnership in the food packaging, but it helped to build the true partnership now. We are 15 partners from 11 countries, and we want to help our companies to understand and build new products answering the regulation about packaging and packaging waste, which requires a lot to do when it comes to recyclability of packaging or reuse of packaging. Next slide, please. That's our partnership. As you can see, there are 15 partners from 20 that were a part of the S3 platform. Next slide, please. You can go. What we've done in the project that helped us to build the basis for the S3 platform. As I said, we wanted to map and analyze our food packaging value chain. We did it in the 30 regions of Europe. We then mapped the strengths and competencies, and we identified the interregional collaboration opportunities. We gathered more than 60 ideas to answer the challenges that are coming from the new regulation about the packaging in terms of reuse, recycle, refuse. And we had matchmaking and pitching, and now we are working with 30 projects to come to 10 concrete interregional business cases. Next slide, please. So that was the I3 project, but of course, parallel, they were also the whole platforms, food packaging platforms meetings, when we all the time discuss and share with other partners value for pack best practices regarding mapping and other best practices. We were also thinking, you know, already from the first slide that we didn't went for the I3 Strand 1 or 2A, but we were considering, you know, to help our members to get financing or develop the projects based on this trend. But we finally decided to go for the Eurocluster call. And now I will talk a little bit what were the best practices from the value for pack projects that help us to build the I3 platform. Next slide, please. That's our project, but from the slide I will only mention what were the best practices we will be using in our S3 food packaging platform. First of all, the model of analyzing the regions when it comes to value chain food packaging mapping. Then there is the whole process of identifying and developing ideas. And within this, we were very successful when it comes to matchmaking, because we use B2Match platform, and this will be used also in our future S3 platform. The next thing, what we found out during the project was the system, how to work within the working groups, how to develop the working groups around different topics, and how to implement them. Also, the funding radar will be implemented in our partnership. Next slide, please. One of the tools that we found very successful in our project was the SharePoint, where we differently approach the topic of the SharePoint. I mean, not only putting the files, but also describing things, how the things are going, what we expect from different partners or the tasks. And you can see the part of the SharePoint of the Value for Pack project and how we implemented it to the S3 partnership food packaging dashboard. Next slide, please. I already mentioned the tools for partnership, I mean the B2Match platform. We want to have this platform for a longer time for our partnership or future projects, because we have already more than 200 companies registered there with more than 62 ideas. So what we want to have, we want to finance the tool also within our partnership. Next slide, please. But we know already what we want, because we have the work plan. We know how to work, but there is always in the strategy so-called black box. And what is the black box? I will tell you with the next slide, please. So that's the black box. So as I said, we know what, we know the task, we have the work plan, but the main things, it's something that was said already. We need the shared context. So we really have common understanding of what matters, why it matters, and how the things are going. So we were working hardly in our project, to align the strategy and the vision with the partners. And the next puzzle where we were working on during the i3 project was the top leadership and distributed leadership, because without this it cannot happen. So I was working on the Value for Pack project, many people, but Angelique from Pack for Food was working on the platform. So that was, I think, the key of the success of the both initiatives. We also were untapping the potential of others not know in the managing area of EU projects, I would say. So they were people that probably will be leading our work groups in the platform that were untapped, I would say, in the project. Next slide, please. Shared context. I would like to focus 1 minute on this because it's so important. What we did, we had reflective learning during the whole project. Every 6 months, we had workshops trying to find out if the shared context changed or not, how it's evaluated. It was also about reflective learning from the partners, how they feel themselves in the project and how they can best approach the project. We also had a questionnaire, so not only workshop, but using all the meetings as a reflective learning. Next slide, please. So that's the part of the questionnaire and the answer we received lately about, we asked about the good practices and improvements. Next slide, please. But summing up our journey, how I see successful initiatives, treated as a company, I would say. So looking at the black box, all the things that needs to be done, leadership, culture. So what we want to do and did already, it's listening, doing, keeping promises in the project and in the platform, reflecting, and from this came connection and trust. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jasmina, for again a very interesting presentation. I might first open the floor to the audience. Are there specific questions on the presentations, either of Jasmina or René? Maybe we can start there. I didn't see any in the chat, but please, as always, feel free to use the chat to put your questions there, or otherwise also to raise your hand so that I can give you the floor in order to phrase your question. So I'll give you just a few seconds either to raise hands or to write your chat in the question, your question in the chat. I don't see an immediate question coming up. Maybe I can ask the two presenters to focus a bit more, to go a bit deeper into the challenges you identified in working on your i3 projects and connecting that towards your partnership. So maybe Yasmina, if I can start with you, and then I'll pass the floor to René.
I will come back to the leadership. I think through the leadership and the reflective learning we had, there was alignment from the beginning on the i3 project and the platform and the hard work. So regular meetings, as you said. Also, I haven't seen any challenges.
So, and maybe Yasmina, before I give the floor to René, you have been, the project you presented was a Strand 2B, i3 2B project. Would you, in the next phase, as Maya also presented in the beginning of this session, there will be new calls for the Strand 1 and the Strand 2A. Would you, as a consortium and as a partnership, feel ready also to move to those, or would that be a bridge too far at this point in time?
Is it the question to me or to
Yes,
René?
this is a question to you, and then I will give the floor to René. Yes, just as a follow-up.
That was a challenge. Truly, that was a challenge, but not because of the ideas we didn't have or we weren't ready for it. It was the funding rate. I mean, it was not fully financed, and we as a partners couldn't afford, you know, to co-finance such initiatives. So we went for another call, Eurocluster call, which was financed by 90%. And so more administrative, I would say, and cash flow challenges than real scope or the partnership challenges.
Okay, thank you, Yasmina. Maybe René, I'll also give you the floor. What were some of your challenges and barriers that you faced?
Yeah, well, to say that there were no challenges and no barriers, for me, it would be a challenge in itself. No, we have experienced quite a lot of challenges, I think. If you look back in 2017, we didn't know where to go and where it would be going. So it's always, in retrospect, if you can make a very nice straight line, but at the start you have to work with the ambition of people and the vision of people, and of course keeping people aligned in a vision and ambition, not knowing when or how this will materialize into results in interregional collaboration is of course a challenge. And the i3 program in itself was a missing link, I think, in the ecosystem of Europe altogether, being not able, which we wished already long before, to make interregional collaboration beyond the neighboring regions. So in that sense, we were expecting something, hoping for the best, but still believing in collaboration. So I think that is one of the challenges, is to keep people on board, even though there's not yet the money to cover that. And coming to the money, money is a means, it's an instrument, it's not a goal for sure. But on the other hand, you also have to be sustainable in a way or one way or the other, and that counts already for the partnership itself. So I think that it is not a new item as well, that the funding of partnerships in different countries and as well as clusters is quite different. So we are confronted with partners in projects that have already, which for them is the i3 project is actually an add-on to already things that they are doing, and for others it's the modus of existing. So which makes that not only the starting situation different, but also next steps different. So it is an unbalanced situation altogether on how we have aligned policy in clusterization and in collaboration between regions in Europe, after all. And of course, if you look at a project, and then I will close that, it's actually an I3 project with a lot of partners involving a lot of SMEs, with also sometimes, I have to be honest, changing situations from EU perspective, gives a lot of challenges altogether. And it is always difficult to keep people on board. And in the next few days, we will have our next I3 meeting in Debrecen in Hungary. But we are very, very happy to have a partnership which is very, very committed, and that helps a lot to overcome any barriers which are, of course, there in practice every time, every month, every week, in one way or the other. So I think challenges are there also reflecting, I would say, the actual situation. So challenges are not necessarily wrong if you see them as to be overcome and to learn from them and to strengthen yourself from it. And I think that's what we try to do as much as possible and still cope with the challenges then.
René, you touched upon the sustainable word. We also have a question from the audience. How do you expect to make the platform sustainable? Do you want to spend a few words there? And then also ask the same question to Yasmina, but how do you intend to make the platform sustainable, if at all it is possible to make the entire platform sustainable?
Yeah, well, sustainability of the platform, of the partnership, let me start with that. Of the partnership that we have, it should be sustainable by the interest of the participants themselves. I don't think that we can make it sustainable top down. It has to be sustainable bottom up. So if it's relevant, it will be there. If it's not relevant, it will stop. For the, let's say, the project, the I3 project, where we want to create a partnership and an interregional collaboration of innovation hubs, it's something different, because then we serve actually the value creation, the value change of, let's say, Europe, based on SMEs. And I think that is one of the issues where we have to look at what are the stakeholders in that perspective. And the stakeholders, of course, are regions in that, for sure, because it's about regional value creation, it's about getting jobs in the region, it's about everything associated to that. So that would be one source of keeping it sustainable. On the other hand, there are also a lot of cluster organizations already participating in this, and of course they also have the same sustainability question. For them, it's an add-on. It's not their regular job, but it's perfectly fitting what they are doing. So that's the second source of, let's say, making it sustainable. And the third source of making it sustainable, I think, is actually also looking at where the money goes and how the money revenues. And then you come close to the market and to investors. And how are investors actually looking at a high quality continuous flow of SMEs going through these TRL levels, being serviced and being ready for the next step and to make success. So that is also one of the areas where we are looking at to make it sustainable, is the impact it can have for investors, private investors or other investors. And in the end, this is one of the challenges, of course, that we also tackle within the I3 project in the next 1.5, 2 years of this project. So it is it's certainly one of the main issues to look at it. But of course, you have to show within the project that it works. And if it works, then you can also address the continuity in a good way.
Well, thanks very much, René. I'll first give the floor to Yasmina, and then Miriam, I'll give the floor back to you just to know if we answered your question to the full extent. But Yasmina, first, take the floor, please.
Yeah. So I had a reflection about the challenges. Probably they were challenges, but we had support. We were calling each other, me and Angelique, almost every day. So if anything arises, so we were discussing it. So that's why maybe I don't remember the challenges. When it comes to the sustainable platform, we were using also your support, Els, when it comes, to governance service. And what we came up, and we look also at other platforms, we decided to have membership fee. So we started, to finance our platform from our clusters from this year. So that's the idea, and other things that I was already mentioned. It's keeping promises and having leadership, and that's the challenge now in our partnership, because Angelique left, the leader of the partnership, and I think we need, to come back, and now we have a challenge. Come back, to our ideas, and yeah. Thank you.
Maybe Yasmina, for some of the others here who are not as familiar, could you explain a little bit on the membership fee? Because indeed, to just also express to the rest of the audience, there are several partnerships who have requested for their members a partnership fee or membership fee, while other partnerships, I think, Renee, it's also the case in yours, do not ask for one. So there's actually a dual mode. But could you just expand, Yasmina, a bit, and also how your partners experience this? Just to give a bit of more information for on this to the audience.
Yeah, so we established an office for the partnership. It's within the Pack for Food organization, and with other partners, the established office prepared the work plan for the next year, very detailed, with every task, detailed task description, and the goals, and how many person days or hours they need to provide this. So it's not only up to us, the members that are working, within projects or within working group, but we need an established office that provides a daily support to us. And for this, we are paying. And also for the tools we want to have, like for the B2 match, we discussed it in November during our first official meeting in Budapest, and everyone agreed to have, I don't know if I can say how much, but it's 3,000 euro per year. So do not record it.
Yeah, no, but Jasmina, but thanks for also Ali highlighting this part. So indeed, to answer to the sustainability, I think Ali Renee already highlighted several aspects. Jasmina Ali highlighted some others, but indeed some partnerships have explored the option of asking a fee indeed to account for some additional activities to further stimulate interregional collaboration. Then I'll move to the next question. Luca, you posed a question with regard to the the I3 projects. Is there anything you want to add to that question? Because I see that if I read your question correctly, you're thinking about setting up a partnership, but please allow me to give you the floor. Luca Polidori. Are you allowed, Luca, to speak up or? Well, we are solving some of the technicalities. I'll move just quickly to the next question, and then Luca, I'll come back to your question. So Nikolai, your question was how to find the new programs on the EU Union skills and innovative challenge to regions at all. I assume you want to explore a bit more the skills aspect, Nikolai. Is that a correct understanding, or how would you phrase this question? Because I also see a second question from you of how could be support needs to research and innovation in towards the requirements of ecosystems. So, Nikolai, would you be able to expand on your question a bit? Justina, can we allow the speakers to speak up on their question, or we have a technical issue here?
I did allow the previous commenter. In terms of Nikolai, for some reason, it did not let me unmute him. Nikolai, can you try speaking?
Hello, hear you me? Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Nice to meet you. Greetings from Burgas, Bulgaria. I have some problems with the connections by internet now. My questions, first question is about if there is possible from the speakers to answer how could find new requirements for this new program, Union and Skills of European Union, for the not only for the citizens, but for the between collaborations with the new technological requirements for the regions. AI and other digitalizations systems and technologies could help for more quality of disseminations, for new quality of the research and into innovations to support successes and to find new competitive skills. Do you think that this program could help to design of S3 to develop itself to research and innovations? It is about the first question. Do you understand?
Yes, Nicola, and thank you very much for raising this question, because indeed there is a huge issue on the skills, and I think through the partnerships and the I3 project, indeed we're trying to enhance the skills of people to collaborate in an interregional setting. And I think indeed it's a bit of a different mindset, but again, here very happy to hear René's and Yasmina's view on how indeed the I3 projects, the work they're doing in the partnerships, have helped to build the skill sets of the people involved. Maybe René, I can give you first the floor, and then I'll pass to Yasmina.
Yeah, well, it's on the one hand a very specific and on the other hand a generic question. I think that if you look at the partnership, understanding each other is not only speaking words, but it's also having cultural alignments, I think, one way or the other. And I think being Dutch and being blunt, let's say, we are very straightforward. We have our own way of interacting with others. And so I think that if we talk about the skills that we need, I think it's also about how we learn and how we want to learn. So I'm not sure how to answer this. What I can say definitely is that it is always great to meet and to have interaction with people who start from different ways of thinking on the same topic. And I think that learning is about not only about having skills, but also about the willingness to learn. And I think that we are not in the I3 or in the partnership with a group of people that is the random group of people with a random group of skills brought together. They have also always have a sort of bias in this, because they are there because they want to be there, because they are thinking about interregional collaboration, about wishing to increase their skills, about learning from others, etc., etc. So I think what we experienced, and I'm limiting myself now to what we did in our project, is that the learning aspects are quite often related to the willingness of people to learn from each other, to exchange ideas, to be open, to be straightforward, to be result driven, etc., etc. And that's what we try to achieve as a sort of I don't know how to call it, but it's maybe a sort of characteristic of our partnership and our project is to have that as the mainstream way of acting. So it's not necessarily answering the question, I'm afraid, but it is a little bit the way that we work with skills and with learning from each other.
So basically, René, if I can summarize, you're truly trying with the people you're collaborating with to jointly build the skills needed to engage and by learning from each other to move forward.
Exactly. Thank you for because I think that is the way that one of the added values of any of the project or activities that we are doing is aligning. And I now remember that in my presentation also the word aligning quite often, but it's aligning about how you think about certain aspects if we have the same goal, it doesn't mean that we have all the same way. And by exchanging the different perspectives on the way to do it, we can definitely find the best way. And by the way, learning is not limited to the partnership itself. In the past, and especially in the I3, we have a lot of experience already in, let's say, joining learned activities with others from other partnership, other projects, and taking best practices or good practice to the next level.
Well, thank you very much, René. Yasmina?
I can fully agree with what René said already. So maybe to add to this, sometimes, during preparation phase of the project, and we don't know the people. So that was also the case in our I3 project. And sometimes people are the work package leaders, for example, although they do not have skills to manage others. They are really good technical people, but not really having leadership skills. So our role in the project was to support them, to give the secure environment to grow. So that was, and last year I finished emotional intelligence coaching. So I tried, to give all the knowledge and all the support I received there to people in the project for them to grow.
Well, hopefully, Nikolai, that answered a bit your question with regard to the skills and then how indeed partnerships are trying to build the skills needed and necessary to do. And as Yasmina said, it's happening within the projects, within the partnerships, within the I3 projects. As René also said, it's also happening across the project and as part of S3COP, but also S3 support facility. There was also emphasis on this best practice exchange in order indeed to help there, to the extent possible, of course, to further enhance the skills of people to engage in this interregional collaboration projects. Then I'll move to the next question, which is about to join the existing partnerships that was posted in the chat. So yes, it is possible to join the partnerships. It's open at any point in time. The procedure there is that you contact the leading regions, which you can find on the S3COP website, and yet you express the interest why you want to join the partnerships and what would be the added value. Maybe again here, but then I'll start with Yasmina. I know we also have already received some requests for joining throughout the partnerships. Could you just elaborate a bit on how this practically works and what you as food packaging partnerships are really looking at?
So we stopped. So we didn't allow new members during last year, although we received some application to be a part, because we wanted to establish a true partnership. So from this year, we are open for new members, because we can provide them also already offer and the work plan, how they can align with our activities for this year. So it's contacting us, then we will have a short introduction meeting, and now we are preparing the onboarding information for the new members. So if you want to join, if you are a food cluster or packaging cluster or IT cluster working with the food packaging, you are warmly invited to our platform.
And René, the same question to you. Thanks.
Well, actually, we are an open platform, which means that everyone can jump in. Of course, there's some requirements. Indeed, as you said, the expression of interest also coming from and supported from the region is important for us. So we want to have that in writing, and we also actually invite at least one partner from a region, because sometimes several partners are present from one region. At least one of these partners should become a member of EPSI, and that is one of the conditions we say. But if they are not doing that, then even they are welcome. So the idea is actually to have an open platform to create momentum from. And as I said, if people are not active and not proactive, then we regard them as not being part anymore of the partnership.
Yeah. And that is indeed a bit, as René and Jasmina just mentioned, what is usually also being applied in the other partnerships. So the majority of the partnerships, all partnerships are open, but some, as Jasmina said, temporarily close just to establish the governance structure, to establish a vision and objectives, because it's sometimes easier to do this with a core group. But then later on open up, as Jasmina just said, and move forward. Or as some others, as René said, are open at any point in time, but do have some small requirements like specific expression of interest or an activity or to become member of EPSI. We leave that to the partnerships themselves to manage accordingly to their wishes and needs, because they are, of course, like René and Jasmina said, are the main auditors and the main drivers behind their partnership, so they know best what is needed at that point in time for their partnerships. But so if some of you would be interested in joining either the partnerships of René or Jasmina or any of the others, feel free to either reach out directly to the leading regions or to myself or anybody else of the S3COP Secretariat to find out what are some of the conditions. But in principle, yes, you're very welcome to join the existing partnerships. Then I'll move to the next question, where there was a question of Luca, where you asked, how can S3 partnerships support the I3 program in view of the unknown development of the next EU programming period? I'm not sure, Jasmina or René, if any of you want to move forward with this question. I was just wondering, Maya, if you would be able, from the ISMEA point of view, to say a bit more on the next developments and the programming period, if that would be possible for you.
Thanks, Els. As being the executive agency, basically we are here to execute the policies prepared by DG Regio. So I see that we have here also Ramona Slinartas and Tomislav Pinter from the DG Regio, who are more in charge of the policy as well and the next working programs. And also for the, I don't know if these questions have begun already for the next financial period. So maybe I would like to ask them if they have any comments on this and if they can answer this question. That would be great. Yeah, otherwise I'm really not equipped actually with for providing this answer.
Tomislav or Ramonas, would you mind or would you be able to share a few words?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, of course, we cannot talk about the future, but on near future, I'm happy to say that last week a new work program for the I3 instrument was adopted, covering the next 3 years. And when it comes to S3 partnerships, for sure we can say that S3 partnerships can provide a flexible framework that can adapt to changing policy landscapes and evolving regional needs. So definitely being a part of the partnership, S3 partnerships can raise your voice, can in a way ensure the continuity and sustainability of innovation efforts across the Europe. So in this way, with the I3 instrument and with the other instruments that we have at our disposal, we can definitely answer your needs. So in a nutshell, that will be my answer.
Well, thanks very much, Tomislav. And I think indeed, I think we take also here the invitation to Tomislav if there are any certain views of the regions from the partnerships of the I3 project that you're very happy for them to send those input to you and also to Maya in order for you to collect and then indeed take that into account in your further and future work. So also here to the audience, please feel free if you have particular mindsets or views to share this with us and of course definitely also with the Commission. Then I'll move to the next question, which is about from Lynn about the fee and the fee what it includes and how it's presented. So maybe that comes back to Yasmina, to you. There were some specific sub questions on the fee, so if I can just go back to that theme, could you elaborate a bit more on? You already said a bit like the fee, how it's coming from, but what does it include and how you presented it to your members?
It was presented by Angelique from Pack for Food, where she presented the whole working plan for the 2025 with detailed actions, and every action was showed in a person hours that need to be devoted to do this job. And from this, we came to the whole budget of the office that we want to establish and want to finance within the partnership. So it's like I said, for the platform, the fee for the platform, the fee for preparing the materials, promotional materials, also the fee for the chair and vice chair to attend the meetings, for facilitating the working groups, for facilitating the meetings, and also for example, the catering fee for they were, I think, 100 activities that were presented that will be introduced this year. Some of them were shown that are already financed but by our project. So this year we will deliver the services, but it will be financed by Value for Pack projects. So I don't know what more to say, but as I said, 100 activities, detailed what will be the outcome of the activities and how much it costs. So we pay for the established office and some travel expenses and for the chair and vice chair, and also for the meetings.
Yeah, and indeed, Yasmina, thanks very much for explaining this in more detail. Also here to the audience, so the fee is really there to cover some basic costs, basically, of the partnerships. I know some others like René are trying to find more creative solutions, but there is indeed a bit of a sunk cost where the coordinator needs to have several activities to keep a partnerships up and running, to attend the necessary meetings. And for some, it's a bit easier, also depending upon your regional structure, to cover this. For others, it's much more challenging. And hence the fee is one way to answer this question. There are other partnerships who have come up with a different way, sometimes supported by the regional authorities, but it depends. But all of them have a bit the same challenge to find ways in order to take care of that. I'm not sure, René, if you want to contribute to this, because I know you face the same challenge, although you're not having a fee.
Well, we are not having the fee, but indeed it's a challenge because the pain and gain here is important. So if we see what is the output, then it's good. If people don't see the right outcome, then it can provoke a lot of discussions, and even a small amount of money can then give a lot of rise to a lot of discussions, which are not necessarily helping us, but cost a lot of time and effort. So. These are the difficult parts on when to decide, because we have been considering also a fee, but did not do it for that practical reason that the pain and the gain of that is not well in balance. And of course, we have the lucky situation that we have projects where we meet partly, and of course that helps us also to get some basic momentum of results. And so it is not gone. The discussion on using fees to get a basic coverage of the cost of the management of a partnership is still there. So I'm interested to hear these experiences also from Jasmina and others, of course, on what are best practices in that.
Maybe to add, it came also to my mind, one of the tasks is generating projects. So that's also that also requires a lot of efforts, you know, writing projects. So
yeah, correct.
Then, being very conscious of the time, I would like to thank both of my speakers for, on the one hand side, the presentation, but also the very insightful answers. So thanks a lot for this. And I would like to give the floor back, Maya and Santiago, to you to do a bit the closing and to do a bit the update on the coming activities of the I3 support facility.
Thank you very much, Els, for this really excellent moderation and the presentation, and as well thank you to Jasmina and to Renee for a really good presentation. I hope everybody found it also very useful and saw basically how S3 thematic platforms and I3 projects are indeed very interrelated and basically striving to the same final objectives. For the end, I would just like to mention that the presentations from today and also the recording will be sent to you by email. If you didn't register to this event, you can still access the recordings and the presentation on the ASMEA website if you just click through and find the website about the I3 support facility. And I also invite you to be active, to subscribe for the news, for the information, both for S3 community of practice and also for the I3 support facility, and stay informed on the events and join us for the next event, which will be on 30th of April. Next webinar will be on 30th of April on the financial support to third parties, basically how small and medium-sized companies can be further involved in the main activities of the I3 project. That would be all. Thank you so much, and I wish you a good afternoon. And Santiago, do you have maybe some words to say for?
No, it's fine. Maya, thanks. Thank you, everyone. You have here the link to sign up for the newsletter, and you will receive the invitation for this next meeting and many other information about the activities. I leave the link here. Thanks.
Then there's nothing else for me than to left than to thank you all for being here today with us for this seminar. I hope it was inspiring for you. As always, do not hesitate to contact Santiago, Maya, or myself, nor Renee and Jasmina. I'll be very happy to answer your questions, to answer any concerns you might have and feedback. And that being said, I wish you all a very nice afternoon. And hopefully enjoy the nice weather you might have, at least here in Belgium, it's nice. So I sincerely hope you will have the same in your countries. So have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
bye.
Bye.